There's something called the 180-degree rule with directing, and you imagine a line being drawn across the middle of our scene here, and you with your camera stay on that side of it. It's like you're the audience. You want to relate it to the theater. It's the fourth wall, and you can move anywhere on that side of that line. But if you think about the over-the-shoulder shots now, you'd be on this side, you'd be over the right shoulder of the actor this way, and then when you turn it around, you'd be over the left shoulder of that actor. If you move to his right shoulder too, subconsciously it may confuse the audience a little bit.
You need to let that go.
You've got a lot of things to think about at this point, but sound had better be right up there at the top of the list. You want to make everybody be quiet before you shoot and listen in those headphones. Is there a refrigerator or a fan, something purring there, something you wouldn't hear without the earphones? You get back to work on your scene in the computer, and these things will just drive you crazy. So if there's an airplane going by, wait till the airplane's gone, because if it's on one of the actors' dialogue, you're going to have to then take that sound, find a couple seconds where the actor's not talking, you just have the sound of the airplane, and you're going to have to make copies of that sound with our software and have that just a low drone across the whole scene. Otherwise, it'll sound terrible if it's coming and going throughout the scene. There's something they call room tone, which is just the ambient sounds in any location. So on a movie, the sound man will have everybody hush for 30 seconds or a minute and let the tape recorder run, and then they'll have that to lay down as sort of the bed in the soundtrack. If your actors are taking nice long pauses between their lines, you can get room tone right there, a few seconds of it, and make copies of it and put it in your scene where need be. But this brings us to another subject. Forget about pacing. You'll be taking care of that later. And that can be a little hard for some actors used to theater. They'll say, this scene just seems to be running so slow. Reassure them that's fine. You'll be setting the pacing in the editing room. And you're just shooting little parts of this scene at one time. While the lighting is good on one actor, you'll shoot all of his lines. If the actors are there and they're playing the scene and feeding some lines back, make sure they don't overlap. You'll do that overlapping in the editing room too. Just make sure they take their time, take pauses. They can wait 5 seconds before they deliver a line. You can use a few of those seconds as a reaction shot in another part of the scene.
But not always, right?
Let me play you a few shots from this scene, the original footage,
and is usually
where the actors are taking those pauses before and after the dialogue.
At some point, we're going to have to get realistic.
And yes, it does appear to be moving very slowly.
The decision's already been made. As long as we can keep him alive, that's what we do.
And then I'll play them again after some editing, and you'll see exactly what I mean about setting the pacing.
What kind of money are we talking about, Doc?
And overlapping the dialogue.
Stop it, Carrie. Is that who I think it is?
It's described as a persistent vegetative state and is usually considered irreversible.
But not always, right?
There are some rare cases.
And Cal is a rare case. So, we keep praying and we just keep on.
At some point, we're going to have to get realistic. We have to at least begin talking about taking him off that machine. I know Daddy well enough to know that he wouldn't want to be kept alive.
The decision's already been made. As long as we can keep him alive, that's what we do.
Eventually, the financial realities will have to be
The money
considered.
will not factor into my decision.
What kind of money are we talking about, Doc?
Well, it can vary.
Stop it, Carrie.
No more than $1,000 a day.
Is that who I think it is?
Often your actors can't get there at the same time, and you've got to shoot the scene, so you have to figure ways to cheat this. Now, if they can be there for a few minutes, get a shot or two of them together, delivering a couple lines, then you can just move into close-up on the other actor, and as long as they've got their sight line established, they're looking in the right direction, they can just pretend the other person's there. That's what acting is anyway, and that's the way we shot a good portion of our movie. Now, it became apparent that the actors weren't going to have enough time to really get the dialogue memorized, so I came up with this idea of just printing out the dialogue in large type, and for almost every scene in the movie, the actors are playing to a piece of paper. Quite often the other actor wasn't there and someone else was holding it, or we just pin this up to something.
I hardly recognize
But when you piece it all together, it seems like it's all going on at the same time.
I told you I was leaving.
But not for 6 years.
I'm sorry, Devin. I really am. And I understand completely if you're holding a grudge.
If you know someone else who has one of these cameras, maybe they can come along and shoot too. Now you have to be careful about the white balance, check them, make sure that the cameras have the same look. But you can't often shoot from two different sides here because the lighting won't be right. But one person can be getting a wide shot and the other person maybe a medium close-up. Then when you cut between these two cameras, it's nice because you can cut on the exact frame.
What you really are. Shallow, pathetic, insecure.
I was looking for a sample shot list like the one I showed at the beginning, and I found a good site right here called dependentfilms.com, a collaborative effort by filmmakers for other filmmakers with a lot of resources. Right here they've got some PDF files with different templates for logs and a shot list, legal forms and contracts, and that is all.